Hello everyone and welcome back to Fauji Days. We are extremely fortunate and grateful to have with us celebrated author Kulpreet Yadav. Welcome to Fauji Days, sir. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
So, sir, we are talking just when this wonderful book of yours has launched. It's called Dial 100. And my first question to you is, your two previous major works have been around the military, right? So we've had the Battle of Rezang, we've had the Battle of Haji Pir, and now this is a book on crime investigation. So it's a different ballgame altogether. So was this switch conscious? Was it something you always wanted to write? How did this book come about?
So you're right. This book is different than the earlier works that I've done. But if you look at it a little more closely, there are similarities in these two books.
Oh wow!
Like Dial 100 is about policemen, and policemen solving crimes. And policemen also, if we try to think about it in greater detail, are soldiers who are trying to defend peace and law and order inside the land. They're not there on the border per se, but they're in the cities, in the villages, and trying to fight crime. So they are soldiers of our country. And I think it's very fashionable to kind of, talk about policemen as corrupt, as lazy, as someone who are not well trained, probably not fit.
There's a stereotype attached.
There's a stereotype attached, and in movies and OTT, that's what we see. And to some extent, these kind of stereotypes might be true also, as we know. But what often gets, whitewashed is the fact that there are a lot of policemen who are, committed to the core, who train themselves in technology, who compromise their family time, and they go and catch the criminals, get them to justice. So these are 7 crimes of those kind of policemen who have solved almost impossible to solve cases. These type of policemen in any country in the world, even in the developed world, when you read the story, as I was telling you earlier, these stories are very scary because all the stories are going to start with crime and very dangerous crime. And you will think as a reader that probably this crime will not be solved. But by the end of it, you will see how committed group of policemen over a period of time, sometimes 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, will not leave that trail and find something that the criminal has missed and arrest them.
Absolutely. So, how much of a research went into kind of understanding these cases and actually penning them down? I'm sure there was a lot of research behind this.
Yeah, there was a tremendous amount of research, but being someone who's worn uniform myself for 23 years and being aware of maritime law enforcement, because that was one of the duties of the organization that I work for, Indian Coast Guard, and also trained in Japan on maritime law enforcement. So maritime law, smuggling, piracy, coastal crimes is something that I've done in my day's job, right? So I had some understanding about the procedures, investigation procedures. But these are, of course, not those stories. These are stories, on the land, and these are different kinds of crime. But over a period of time, I've made a lot of policemen as my friends.
Yeah.
And did a lot of reading. And with all these things, I was able to write these stories.
Pull this off. Wonderful. Is there any case, of course, I know you wouldn't want to go into the details of everything, but any case that really stood out to you?
One of the most interesting cases is the first case.
Okay.
And that's the train heist, which took place in 2016. A train, imagine this, a train starts from Salem railway station, it's a small town in Tamil Nadu, for Chennai. It's a journey about 12-13 hours. And in one of the bogies of the train, 340 crore cash in 500 and 1000 rupee denomination is stacked. And there's a police protection force which is traveling in the train who's going to inspect the seal of the lock at every railway station. There are about 12-13 railway stations till the time the train reaches Chennai. And yet, in the middle of the night, someone stole some amount of money. So when the seal was finally broken at the Chennai yard, railway yard, where the train reached finally at about 9 in the morning, and they opened the door of the compartment and they saw a 2 feet by 2 feet hole on the ceiling with the sunlight filtering through and some part of their money gone.
Yeah.
So this was a case for which the Tamil Nadu police had no clue whatsoever. And it was such an embarrassment for the girls, for the state government and also for India at large that, you've got 15 cops traveling with the train. It's a metal body. Never ever before money has been stolen in this way. This only we used to see in 30s, 40s, Western
Yeah.
films, right?
Yeah.
And here, someone has stolen so much of money. How was this done? And the police tried everything at every railway station. They sent the cops, they investigated the tea sellers and other vendors, people near the railway stations, etc. But they were not able to get any leads. Still up for about close to 2 years.
Oh, wow.
But during that time, 5 cops from Tamil Nadu police, they were formed in some kind of a cell in the CBCID, that is Crime Branch CID of Tamil Nadu police. They did not give up on this case. They continued finding out, continued making progress, continued studying other train heist cases in the world. And by using technology, finally they were able to discover these 2 thieves from a small village in Madhya Pradesh who had pulled off a perfect heist.
My God.
And
My
these were
God.
arrested. And in between, from the point of view, of course, the readers will have to read the whole story to understand what the cops did and what procedures they adopted. But on the side of the thieves, so they ended up stealing 5.75 crore out of the 340 crores because they had 8 bags and only this much could fit in.
So they loaded up everything, whatever they could.
Whatever
take.
they could.
Wow.
And after going back to the village, they waited for about a month. And then they started buying immovable properties in the name of their wives and their children and all that.
Oh my God.
And to the villagers, they said, we want a good contract in Bhopal and we are government contractors, etc. And 1 crore was left. And you know where they were hiding the money? So these are village people. So they've got a courtyard, they've got rooms, and they've got a buffalo tied under a tree. And next to that, there is a small room where you keep hay, as it is kept everywhere in India. So they were keeping their money under the hay. And then demonetization happened. 1 crore was left.
Oh,
So-
my God.
So that entire
That's a
one,
twist.
entire 1
That's a
crore, they
twist.
didn't know what to do. And that also became hay in a way.
Oh.
There are multiple other very interesting aspects about this story. How did they come to know about this money? Which day did it travel? By which train? By which compartment? How could they climb the rooftop? How could they achieve all this tremendous amount of success initially? Who was the person who was giving them information from the bank? Etc. So for that, you'll have to read the story.
So fascinating. I think it lends itself to an OTT drama in itself. There's
Yeah.
something that can come out of this.
So the rights of Dial 100 has been acquired by a very famous
wonderful.
director who's also a producer.
Wonderful.
And we are currently working on a theatrical film on the very first story.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think this will come out amazing. I think I'm already intrigued by this premise that you've told me. Very exciting. So wonderful. So I think this book is something very unique, and I think it'll be very gripping for readers to read. Another aspect that I want to cover is you've just mentioned that you also served in the uniform and you've been a part of the Indian Coast Guard, but we know very little about it. So can you just tell us more about the Indian Coast Guard?
Great question. I wanted you to ask this question because the fact is that people indeed do not know anything about Coast
Yeah.
Guard. Outside Coast Guard, I've been retired for 11 years now. I've interacted with thousands of people perhaps. I've not come across a single person who knows what Indian Coast Guard is. This thing is some organization.
Yeah.
And definitely people think there's some organization under state government or Ministry of Home Affairs or something like that. But the fact of the matter is this, I'll tell you. Indian Coast Guard is a defense organization. It comes under the Ministry of Defense. So just like Army, Navy, Air Force and Coast Guard, there are only 4 organizations under Ministry of Defense. You've got Assam Rifles also. But just to put things in perspective, Indian Coast Guard is a defense organization. The officers and jawans are trained in the naval establishment. We've got tremendous amount of dependence on the Navy still because this organization was created in 1978. So it's a young organization.
Yeah, fairly young.
We've got large vessels, we've got medium-sized vessels, we've got smaller vessels, we've got speed crafts, we've got hovercrafts, fascinating hovercrafts at many strategic places in India. We've got fixed-wing aircraft, we've got rotary-wing aircraft.
Wow.
And so we've got aviation wing.
Yeah.
What I mean to say is we've got aviation wing, we've got marine wing. And it's a small organization, but it is intentionally kept that way. It's very efficient. So lean, visible and efficient is the kind of motto and mission that our organization has. So I was there part of the service for 23 years. I commanded 3 ships in different places. I traveled abroad. I had a very fascinating life. And I retired in the rank of commandant. For the audience to understand, that's the rank which is equivalent to full colonel.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anything that stood out from that experience? Any anecdote? Anything you'd like to share?
A lot of anecdotes. I've spoken about my experience in many podcasts, but just to say that, the armed forces, whatever armed forces you're part of, it's a very different world. It's very different than the normal world, because in normal world, the only thing that is perhaps important is money.
Yeah.
How much money you make, what car you drive, which house you live. You buy branded clothes, you buy, clothes from Sarojini Nagar market, or what kind of clothes you buy. Where do you eat? How often do you travel abroad? These are the markers of success.
Correct.
These things are absent in armed forces environment. For example, if you enter Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, BSF, CISF, anywhere, which is, you end up living in a cantonment.
Yeah.
Money is not important because everyone knows other person's salary.
Yeah.
If you're an officer, if me and you are officers in an organization and we are 2 years apart or 5 years apart or whatever, we know exactly how much, we are making. So if you bought an expensive car, let's say you bought a car for 20 lakhs, and whereas I bought a car for 10 lakh, which means I have probably invested my money somewhere else. So that is why perhaps, things like professionalism, respect, honor, camaraderie, teamwork, these kind of attributes get developed very well. So, though I was part of Coast Guard, but Coast Guard operates extremely closely with Indian Navy and also with other armed forces organizations. So, I've been posted, for example, I was posted in Air Force Academy in 1996 for 6 months, where I did a training. We were part of the Naval Training Circuit, which is called SUBS courses, for about a year after our formative training in Naval Officers Academy. So I consider myself very fortunate that I was part of this fantastic organization.
How lovely, sir. I hope people know more about the Indian Coast Guard, just like you said, because even in my experience, it is when we talk about the 3 forces, we seem to forget all the others, and the fact that it is as critical to our country's defense, I think it is something that cannot be ignored. So definitely there. So, sir, as you know, Fauji Days as a platform that we've built, one of the main things that we focus on is bringing good military literature to young readers. And you've happened to write, just like I mentioned in my introduction, 2 wonderful books. One is this Battle of Rezang and the other one is Battle of Haji Pir. So I would love if you can probably start off by telling us more about the Battle of Rezang La, the book that you've written, and what would you hope that readers take away from this book?
Battle of Rezang La is a true story from 1962, November 1962. It's an incredible story of bravery, sacrifice, and honor, which really stands out in independent Indian war stories. And I had myself, in my earlier years in service, very little knowledge about Rezang La,
Right.
because there's not much knowledge anywhere.
Correct.
But for me, there's a personal connection to this story because these 120 Jawans of Charlie Company of 13 Kumaon, which fought this battle, were from south of Haryana, all of them.
Okay.
And the 2 of them were related to me. So audience may not know this, but when you see a particular battalion called with a particular caste or region, the composition may not be so.
Yeah.
For example, this was fought by 13 Kumaon. So people might think Kumaonis fought.
Correct.
When you say, but the fact is 13 Kumaon is a 100% Ahir battalion. And Ahirs are in many places in India, but these people were primarily from south of Haryana, where I also hail from. So from my childhood, I'd been hearing the stories of their sacrifice. 2 of them were related to me in the village. And people used to talk about the kind of bravery they, exhibited and laid down their lives, and they protected the area of Ladakh, which is what the story is about, under the leadership of Major Shaitan Singh, who was from Rajasthan, an adjacent state. And but my father was in Air Force, so I did my schooling from Chandigarh, quite a bit of it.
Oh wow! Wow, nice to know.
KV Sector 31 from
Wow.
6th to 11th standard. And here in my Kendriya Vidyalaya school, after my summer vacation, upon returning, I used to tell my friends, do you know what happened in Rezang La? It is my relatives who fought and defended the country. And people used to turn around and say, what Rezang La? We don't know about it. And same thing happened when I went to college. I went to a very nice Parsi college in Pune called Nauroji Wadia College because my father's posted there at that time. And thereafter I went to Naval Officers Academy. In college also no one had heard. I said, fine, I mean, it's an independent country. So many wars have happened. Civilians don't know about it. It's fine. But when I entered the Armed Forces, Naval Officers Academy, and then I went around different places, I interacted with people in all sorts of forums, officers, jawans. No one actually knew anything about Rezang La. And I did not do anything about it, to be honest, because I was not going to be a writer at that time. I became a writer only when I was 35 years old, and I joined the service when I was 22 and a half. So I was married by the time I wrote my first book. I had my 2 daughters by the time I wrote my first book. So I was, disappointed, but then this was at the back of my mind. Until I started writing books, and a point reached in 2018. 2018 it was. When this thought came to my mind, one day I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I went to the drawing room and sat down. It sounds very filmy, but this is how it happened. I know that this war was fought late in the night and early in the morning. And it was one night fight, and it made me very uncomfortable that why the nation does not know the story of these warriors. They are shouting Bharat Mata Ki Jai there, and they're trying to protect an airfield which got protected. And 110 of them sacrificed their lives, and the frozen bodies were found standing in the trenches 3 months later, with bullets taken on chest. No one had turned, and so many Chinese soldiers were they were desperate. So many of them had perished trying to win over this airfield. And why no one knows about it? And a thought came to my mind that why don't Kulpreet, you do something? And that's when I decided to write this story. And the first conversation I remember I had with Penguin Random House, my publisher, and I said I would write this story, but I might have to fictionalize a little bit because it's an old story and people don't know. And my editor Millie, she said, no, don't fictionalize it. Keep it factual if you can. And I understood a point, and I think that's a brilliant point, because I thought this story deserves the truth.
Correct.
So it took me 2.5 years. I did a lot of legwork. I met a lot of survivors. I traveled to places. And in doing my research, I came to know I was able to find some good information in a book called Lest We Forget by Captain Amrinder Singh.
Yes.
And in fact, now since I've read every literature on Rezang La, the only person who has done some justice to this battle is Captain Amrinder Singh, because there's a dedicated chapter on Rezang La. It's 30 odd pages.
Wow.
Lots of information. Though he was not present at that time, but he wrote the story probably in 80s when more survivors were alive. So he spent his time and effort in trying to
capture those voices.
Yeah, capture those voices and get them in his book. So I was able to get very authentic information from there. And then I contacted 13 Kumaon. To my great surprise and good luck, 13 Kumaon at that time was in Delhi. When I was researching, I met the commanding officer, and he said, what do you say? He said, sir, I said, I want to write this book. And they said, sir, you must write. And I requested them to find the war book, which they were able to find. And that gave me more information, authentic, pen written. I also found a lot of information on the Defense Ministry website and whatever other information that was there online. I met survivors. And to cut the long story short, with all these efforts in 2.5 years, I was able to put this authentic book. And now it gives me tremendous amount of satisfaction. I can say with a lot of pride that this is the only book on this great battle available in the market.
Absolutely.
For people to read. And now it's available in Hindi by National Book Trust. It is called Rezang La Ki Shaurya Gatha. And Marathi edition has just been signed, and other editions also will come.
Amazing, sir. Amazing. I'm so glad this book is out there. You just mentioned this thing, about talking to survivors and trying to understand what really happened. Do you feel these stories are also passed down from generation to generation, or is it not happening?
They are passed on from generation to generation, definitely in a village. Village of Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, wherever. Any village in India that I know of, if there is someone who sacrifices life for a battle, invariably, the sarpanch and the locals, they do build a memorial, which becomes a very important place of pilgrimage in a way to the people of the village, particularly young children, and also from the neighboring villages who come and gather there. And you can do the 26th January and 15th January, 15th August flag hoisting ceremony.
Correct.
I think it plays a huge amount of role.
But why do you feel that it doesn't kind of our general public and the general audience or the normal citizens of the country, why do we miss sharing these stories with them, or why is it just doesn't trickle down to them in some ways?
It doesn't, but there are, multiple reasons for that. One, a citizen in India today or anywhere in the world, whichever country people are living in, they've got their own battles to fight. They're surviving, they're trying to survive. Things are costly, inflation is there, unemployment is there. There are health challenges now because of the adulterated food that we have been eating for decades and the air we've been breathing for decades. So they've got those own challenges. But I think that the real better question would be that what can we as individuals do to bring these stories to the notice of others? Like, for example, when I proposed this book to my publisher, she opened her arms and said, let's do this, right? When I go to bookstores and tell them this story, they open their arms and they say, this is a great story. When I go to schools and colleges and talk about it, people are receptive. I got a call from Naval Children's School 2 months ago by Commander Rana, who's not known to me, but he runs that school, naval officer. And he said, sir, we would like to invite you to our school and speak to children of 11th, 12th standard. And if you can speak about Rezang La. And I said, why me? He said, sir, I read your book and I want to invite you. And I was so touched. And I went there and I put the photographs also on my social media. And when I was speaking to these young students, so they were listening to me. So someone has to take this initiative. Now there's a book there's a film which has already been shot on Rezang La. It's called 120 Bahadur. That's going to come in November. It's a big budget film by Farhan Akhtar. He's himself, doing the role of Major Shaitan Singh, who's the leader of this battle. So I think if one citizen takes a step in the right direction, then a lot of other people join him.
Correct.
And it becomes a small movement.
Correct. Absolutely agree. And I think that step is needed. And I think literature is one of the great ways to kind of, make sure that the story lives on for generations and people can read it. So now what about the Battle of Haji Pir? You had a connection with the Battle of Rezang La and you wrote it. But what about the Battle of Haji Pir?
Battle of Haji Pir also, surprisingly.
Another connection.
There's a connection there. So Battle of Haji Pir was fought in August 1965. It was Indian government's, most amazing decision of crossing the border in 65 and doing a surgical strike deep in enemy territory and capturing a pass known as Haji Pir Pass from which infiltrators were coming. And so many infiltrators had come in Kashmir under an operation called Operation Gibraltar, launched by Field Marshal Muhammad Ayub Khan and Bhutto, who was the foreign minister at that time, and a major general who was heading the 12th Corps there in Pakistan, that the poison had spread so much that Lieutenant General Harbaksh Singh, who was heading the Northern Command at that time, he realized that it is not possible for us to fight these enemies because there are 30,000 infiltrators. They're not wearing uniform, they're wearing local clothes, they speak the local language, and they got the guns under their salwar. And how do we fight them? There's no border, enemies around us. And they were targeting schools, colleges, civil infrastructure, and the army cantonment unit. So many officers died, so many Jawans died. They're blowing up our ammunition depots, etc. And the situation became so bad that he came up with this genius plan, and he proposed it to General Chaudhary, who was the chief of army staff. And General Chaudhary was convinced, and he went to Lal Bahadur Shastri and said that we want to do this. And this was almost a no-go, a red line for Lal Bahadur Shastri ji, because Pakistan was a signatory to two very important treaties of the time. There were two organizations called CETO and CENTO. Those organizations don't exist anymore. One was led by UK, one was led by US. And in that, being a signatory, it was assurance to Pakistan that if India or any other country crosses your border, we're going to come and fight with you. And India had lost a war in 62. And China had become very close to Pakistan. And China had also assured that if India does something, we will also attack, and India can never fight on two borders. Until 62, we had not modernized our army, and 65 is 3 years later.
My God.
So it was almost an impossible decision for a Prime Minister of India to say yes to, but he approved that plan. And when he approved that plan, one para was tasked, and there was a young officer at that time, 37 years old, very smart, flamboyant, brave officer called Maj Ranjit Singh Dyal, who became later Lieutenant General and retired from the Indian Army, incidentally also from Chandigarh. And he led one para, around 800 odd soldiers across the border. And it's a great story that you got to read, because they had to, capture multiple peaks and passes and cross rivers till the time they reached Haji Pir Pass. But they reached there. And in that, one of the Veer Chakra awardee, a person called as Rao Singh, was also from a village next to my mother's village in Haryana. And I had been hearing his story as a child. Rao Singh ne ye kiya, Rao Singh ne wo kiya, aur bahut bahadur wo hai. And there's a memorial also there, and this was there in my mind. And I thought, so that, because of these multiple reasons, Rezang La, and also someone did bring this to my notice when I was speaking at, I remember Times of India Literature Festival when I was speaking in Bangalore. An Air Force officer, group captain, came to me later and said, "Do you know about Battle of Haji Pir?" And I said, "No." He said, "You read about it." And then I remember, oh, Haji Pir, Rao Singh. Several things connected. And then I started doing research, and whenever a writer starts doing a research, he or she is never certain that, you'll be able to complete that job, because it's a hard process. Yeah. So I started with a positive mind, and I came and met a lot of officers. Incidentally, one para, most officers are in Chandigarh. So I could meet people. Then Mumbai, I met a Lieutenant General there. I traveled to different places in Delhi, Noida. In fact, Delta Company was the company that actually captured Haji Pir. Right. Now, incidentally, Delta Company also, in which Rao Singh was also there, was also an Ahir company. So that was again my company. So one para had a very interesting composition. So Alpha Company was a Sikh company. Bravo Company was a Dogra company. Charlie Company was a Jat company. And Delta Company was a Ahir company. So these were all composite, different castes, but all fighting unit together. And all of them together fought to reach there. But incidentally, what happened was, by the time they had to capture Haji Pir Pass, this was Delta Company. So there was a personal connection there also. Absolutely. So I could meet some of the soldiers of Delta Company who were surviving and living in Haryana. So with all this process, finally I realized that I think I will be able to do justice to this story. And once again, I sent my proposal, and it was accepted, and the book came out last year.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, sir, after having written all these books, what is the most satisfying part as an author,
Satisfying part as an author, as far as these two books are concerned, let's talk about Haji Pir and Rezang La. I thought, as I said earlier also, there's no book on Rezang La. And incidentally, there's no book on Battle of Haji Pir as well. Yeah. So I've been able to bring the stories, the true stories of the valor and sacrifice of these wonderful soldiers and officers to our young readers in India. One of them is being converted into a film. Maybe the other one also, film or web series may happen. The moment it becomes a film or a web series, an audience multiplies manifold. Absolutely. So I'm satisfied that these untold stories are now available for people to read.
And I'm going to just take this chance to also touch upon a forthcoming title that you have, that's on the 1857 Rebellion. So anything you want to mention to our readers, anything you want to talk about there?
Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. That is also a very ambitious book. It's my biggest book. It's probably going to be 400, 500 pages.
Wow.
And this is again an incredible story on which there is no major book, or definitely not by a leading publisher. This is a story of a smaller kingdom west of Delhi called as Rewari Kingdom, which was ruled by a king called as Rao Tula Ram. Now there's a road in Delhi called Rao Tula Ram. There's a
I was just about to say that. Yes.
But no one knows what Rao Tula Ram actually did. So this story in brief is about a young king who ascended the throne at the age of 14, and he was forced into this battle when he was in his early 30s. And Delhi, as you know, in May was taken over by the rebels, and Bahadur Shah Zafar was declared the king of India. But in September, the East India Company was able to retake Delhi right? So Delhi came back in their control.
Yeah.
But Rao Tula Ram did not give up, even after that, when everyone else gave up. In November, in Narnaul, near Narnaul, there's a small village called Nasibpur. He fought a fierce battle with 5,000 soldiers defending his territory, which had a unbroken record of 1,300 years from 7th century.
1,300?
1,300
Wow.
years. So he did not want to give up and they fought. They were more in number. The Britishers were, it was not called Britishers that time, it was East India Company with some other Indian, of course, they had that time other Indian components as well. And many British, English soldiers, and I mean, soldiers from today's United Kingdom. They fought 3,500 people, 5,000. They had better weapons, better strategy, more number of horses, more number of guns, etc. So they were able to finally defeat Rao Tula Ram. But Rao Tula Ram did not give up even after loss and 4,000 people dying. He traveled to Iran, he traveled to the Russian border. He was trying to get Russians in India to throw the Britishers out. He had done inside treaty with kings of Rajputana. He had a letter with King of Jaipur, King of Jodhpur, King of Bikaner, that if Russians come, we are going to switch sides and fight with the Russians. So his ambition was a regime change in India. How big is that? And again, not much literature available here. So I have a research partner on this, a person called as Bahadur Rao, who has been researching on this story for one decade, almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So when we joined hands and I had a little bit of idea, and when I learned more from him, and we thought, my God, this is a big story, but where do we find the literature? We traveled to all the libraries in India.
Okay.
We were able to get very scant information. Then in April last year, we went to London. We went to the British Library. We were there for 12 days. Morning to night, we were researching. All library opening hours till evening hours. And we were able to get a lot of information. A lot of parliament discussions of the time in 1858, 1860, everybody searching for Rao Tula Ram. For 4 or 5 years, they were not able to find where Rao Tula Ram was. Finally, he was poisoned, as some people say, or he fell sick. At the age of 37, finally, he died in Kabul. But he was able to ally with Dost Muhammad Khan, who was later on a British ally, but earlier not. The Shah of Iran, who was defending him, and the Russians. And the Russians decided on his confirmation to come and attack India.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But the Tsar of Russia was assassinated, and his son took over, who was pro-British, or who was definitely not anti-British.
Got it.
Right? So
very fascinating.
It's a very fascinating story. It's a completely untold story. So what I'm trying to now focus on is try to bring the stories which no one else has written about. That applies to Battle of Rezang, that applies to Battle of Haji Pir, and now it applies to Battle of Narnaul. So this is in brief. This is a very ambitious book. Two of us have put our heart and soul into this book.
I'm just going to digress and ask you one more question over here. You mentioned that you traveled to London and you found enough information about it. Do you feel we do not, in India at least, document our history properly? Is that an issue?
That is actually true, and all Indians know this. So every race and every region have got some strengths and weaknesses. As Indians, we have been poor at documenting. However, things are changing. Even today, if you see, books sell significantly lesser in comparison to the people who watch movies. Or even if you do let me give clarity to the audience about this, because I've been thinking and I was disturbed initially a lot about this, why Indians don't read. I'm not disturbed anymore because Indians have never read. Right? Indians are great storytellers, greatest storytellers. If you do a performance poetry in your market here in Chandigarh, you declare that it will be tomorrow, you will find audience. But if you say you're doing a book launch, people will not come because people are not interested they are more interested in performance than reading, which is why films, Bollywood.
The medium is different.
Medium is different. So storytelling is there. We've got Mahabharata, we've got Ramayana, we've got such great other stories. We've had great writers. But if you see the number of books that they've sold is less.
Yeah.
So people are interested in good stories. However, they're not interested in reading. And definitely the question that you asked about documenting. So like, for example, Rewadi's story when we were doing Narnaul. So there are some, the court, musicians and poets, which are called as bards. So you'll find those bards have documented certain stories, or there'll be a poetry, or there'll be a Ragini in Haryana, talking about the valor of those people. But there'll be no written record.
Precisely,
It's quite ironical. But right now, if we see, full credit to the British Library. It is an iconic institution, and they are so wonderful and they're so open.
Yeah.
They don't hide anything. They've got all the information there, and they're ready to give it to you. We had an amazing, experience there. But I must also say, like for example, our National Archives in Delhi.
Yeah.
Now, about 70% of the work has already been digitized. So you can sit anywhere in the world and, access their documents, right?
True.
We got some other amazing libraries here, and, things are happening. In fact, even Rampur, Raza Library, which was the Nawab's palace, which is now a library. We even traveled there. And it's such a great space to work. And so much of information is available, beautifully preserved. So I think Indians are learning that this is also important in addition to what they do. And I think it's a great change.
That's great. That's great, sir. So I'll just take it forward from here because you don many hats. So you just talked about other mediums through which people, understand story and share stories rather. So you're also a screenwriter. You're also an author, also an actor. So can you tell us more about your projects? What led you to all of this? Is that always been a part of your ambition?
Screenwriting is a new ambition, but it's about 6 to 7 years old because, I wanted my books to be converted into movies,
Films,
which is not happening. People buying rights, but not being converted into film because it's quite a challenge to convert a book into a screenplay because the format is different.
Yeah.
So I thought if no one else is doing it, let me do it myself. And when I started learning how to write a screenplay 5-6 years ago, I found this again a very interesting format. It's very interesting how people write screenplay. How the emotions and actions and dialogues are captured. With minimal description, which is more in books. So I started learning about it, and I found that I'm getting attracted to that. So I've written some screenplays of short films, which I've produced myself. But right now I'm writing a web series, which is being produced, which will be produced in the future. I'm also developing a screenplay of the train heist story in So this is something that I want to do well, and I'm fascinated by it.
Amazing.
And it took me 19 years now, 17 books. So first 10 years of my book writing were not that great because I was not successful. 12 years maybe. And same thing is happening in screenwriting. No one wants to meet me. No one wants to give me a chance. But I'm going to prove everyone wrong, and maybe 5 years, 10 years later when we meet, I'll be able to talk about some great films that I've written.
Sure.
But acting is something that on which, about which I had no, how do I put it? I never thought of myself as an actor.
Okay.
I did participate in a couple of plays which I was in 12th standard, annual day. Everyone does it. Because you're forced to. Teacher says, practical mein marks nahi milenge, nahi karoge to. So I did some plays, and after that I became an officer. And as an officer, you're not supposed to make those expressions and do, play someone else because you're busy playing yourself. But in the pursuit of my screenplay, getting opportunity to write a screenplay or pitch my stories in Bombay, Bollywood, Mumbai. So in those travels, when I met people, so they, suggested that why don't you, act.
Wow.
And before that, I had acted actually in a short film which I had produced myself, along with a dear friend of mine called Dinesh Kumar Chauhan, who's also a retired officer.
Okay.
And it was in fact Dinesh Kumar Chauhan who had suggested that we have a story and why don't you do this role? And I said, I can't act. He said, you can. And he gave me that confidence. And when I started doing it, that particular role was appreciated by a lot of people. Oh, wow. And when I was pitching my stories, they were saying, "Aap to bahut achhe actor ho.
Kya baat
ye wala role karo, wo wala role karo." And it might appear like a cakewalk, but it isn't, because even when someone says you do this role, they'll send you a script. And in your house, you have to put your phone somewhere in the window, and you have to memorize the lines and do something known as audition, which I did. But surprisingly, the success rate on audition is very high. So I've done about 20 odd acting assignments in the last 2 years.
Amazing. Is that something you enjoy as well now?
I've started enjoying now. Earlier I was not very sure. And one of the reasons for that is actors are treated very well on a set.
Yeah, true.
You're the moment you come, you're escorted to your vanity van, and someone will come and say, "Sir, can I come now?"
There's a different aura around.
It's a different aura. You sit in front of there's a settee behind, the washroom, the wash basin, and the big mirror. You keep looking at yourself, and there are lights all around.
Vanity in its true sense.
Yeah, vanity in its true sense. Absolutely, you've nailed it. So someone will come and say, "Sir, costume, are you ready?" Say, "No, okay, come after 5 minutes." They'll run away, close the door. "So can I get you coffee?" And then, "Sir, aapka makeup." I'm someone who's not very fond of makeup naturally. So, Makeup के लिए तो I generally have a trick. I don't know whether I should say here or not. I generally tell them that हो तो गया. And there's so many people on set. They say हाँ sir हो गया. Because 2 बाल है और कुछ होता तो है नहीं, बस shave करके आ जाता हूँ घर से. And then when the set is ready, they don't call you on the set. A lot of people are working, hundreds of them. It's a very, very interesting space. A lot of commitment by different verticals in the film set. And the director will then signal. There are several assistant directors, and one of the assistant directors' job is to coordinate with the actors. And several actors seated in different places. You don't talk to each other. Unless you're friends, Then someone will knock the door. Usually a girl, she'll say, "Sir, aapka shot taiyar hai." And she'll have a chhatri even if it is not raining. And you'll be escorted like that. And walkie-talkie mein she'll say, actor coming. Whatever is your name, character name, so-and-so is on the way. And they'll say, okay.
Sounds
and you'll be
very
coordinated that.
cool. Sounds very cool.
And you go right in the middle and there's lights all around and the people climbing everywhere. And the director comes and says, "Sir, aapne line yaad kar liya, chalo thoda practice karte hain." And it's so amazing.
It's a different world altogether.
It's a different world. And I'm very, very fortunate that people see value in what I do and I want to do it better.
Absolutely.
But my focus remains more as a storyteller.
Wonderful. So, sir, as my final question, what is that message that you want to give your readers from an author's perspective when they read your books? What message do you want to convey to them, and what do you hope they take away from all your books?
So, for readers, I would like to say that because I write in fiction and non-fiction both, so when they read non-fiction, they will definitely get a sense of the fact that I have done a lot of research. So these are authentic stories. I'm always very mindful of the fact that I don't waste the reader's time. So I work very hard to keep my sentences short, words simpler, because English may not be first language. English is definitely not first language for almost all Indians, but many Indians are proficient in English, but many are not, who are trying to read a book. So they would be comfortable reading it. And I want them to learn from these wonderful leaders, whether we say Major Shaitan Singh or the 120 Jawans who fought. It's such an incredible battle that each soldier had only 600 rounds. So they had to be sure when to fire the weapon. And the range of Indian soldiers' weapon was less than the range of the enemy soldier weapons. That means enemy soldier weapon can always remain out of your range and kill you. So you got to wait for him to come in your range. Hiding all the time, patience. So I think a lot of things that we can learn about leadership, working under pressure, resourcefulness, because minimum resources, teamwork, fitness, training, etc. And I think if these lessons can be applied on anything and everything that you do, if you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur as myself. By the way, we don't have time to talk about that, but I'm co-founder of 2 startups.
Really?
In Delhi and Gurgaon, and that's a different topic altogether. But these lessons can be applied by a student, by a corporate employee, by a defense officer, by anybody. So that's about the non-fiction. Fiction stories are written from heart, so it's one heart to the other. If it connects with you, if it changes you in some way, it makes you a better person, more empathetic. My job is done. Right? So, these are the things probably I feel reader will...
Definitely, sir. And I think it's good to see that there is an increase in readership for military titles especially, and I think this point that you mentioned that, there's always something to learn and apply in your daily life. I think there's finally some conversation around it, because it's so important for us also to be good citizens in whatever way we can. It doesn't have to be that you're standing at the border to do something for your country, but even as citizens, there's so much you can do. So thank you so much for this lovely conversation, sir. It was such a frank and honest discussion, and I really enjoyed speaking to you. Thank you.
I enjoyed as well, and your story is lovely. You people are lovely. Your publishers, booksellers, podcasters, and so many things. I wish all of you great success and all.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.